There we go. It looks like everything is situated. So just give me a couple seconds to share the link and verify everything is working. And we'll go ahead and get started. Been having some technical issues with going live these past couple of streams. So hopefully everything's working right now. Been very frustrating. I don't know if it's an issue with YouTube or my laptop or something else, but I have been having issues. And for some reason, I can't pull up the stream on my phone. There it is. Is it working? Yep, looks like it is. All right, so just give me a couple seconds to share the link. I'm just going to tweet real quick and then get started. So good morning, everybody. It is 8:44 a.m. if you're on the East Coast. And it is Thursday. What is today? May 23rd, 2024. I got some fun stuff to get through today. I hope everybody joins me. And we have a good time. Please be respectful in the comments. I shouldn't have to say that, but I do because people always aren't. But anyways, let's get started. I got some good stuff today. So let's bring up the topics list. See what we got. Get down. Cat is trying to jump up on top. Get down. He's going to mess with my stuff. He's going to yank a cord out of the PC or something. He needs to go play. Go play. All right, I guess we'll go ahead and get started with, I don't know if I have any real updates or anything. YouTube videos are coming along as expected. Output has been normal this week. Had a couple of hiccups in regards to the live streams, but everything appears to be working at this point in time. There's my stupid cat. Damn it. Get down. He wants to be a part of the action, but he needs to go play. Oh, shit. Get down, cat. All right, so we got some news and rumors to get started with. We got quite a few. So we'll start with our top story. This one is coming from NBCnews.com, and it says Congress eyes new online privacy bills ahead of 2024 elections. Okay, it says, I believe there's a moment here where, on behalf of the American people, Congress needs to act. House Energy and Commerce Committee Chair Kathy McMorris Rogers said in an interview on the steps of the Capitol Hill. Excuse me. There's a recognition on behalf of protecting our kids online and protecting all Americans that we, okay, blah, blah, blah. She's spouting bullshit. What are they actually doing? All right. The American Privacy Rights Act would create national consumer data privacy rights and set federal standards for securing people's data rather than have a patchwork of state laws. Among other things, the legislation would require companies to be clear about how they use people's data and give consumers the right to access, correct, delete, and export their data. The bill would also limit how companies collect and use data and ban transferring certain data to third parties without consent. Includes the bipartisan bill. The measure includes blah, 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 bill to protect kids and teens online data known as COPA 2.0. The bipartisan privacy bill is gathering momentum, blah, blah, blah. Passing the package would be a huge legislative win for McMorris and some other people. Who cares? Okay, so we're going to have to keep an eye on this because there's always, anytime the government gets their hands in on Hello, gamer girl. Anytime the government gets their hands involved in what they classify as protecting people's privacy, always ends up backfiring for some reason. So let's watch this one cautiously. This one is a little more fun. I'm excited for this. NBC News is reporting that Toronto has been awarded the WNBA's first franchise outside the U.S., with an expansion team set to begin play in 2026. Toronto will be the WNBA's 14th franchise, with the expansion Golden State Valkyries set to play next year. Toronto has been, the team will be owned by Larry Tannenbaum-led Kilmer Sports Ventures. He's also the chair and minority owner of Maple Leaf Sports Entertainment, which owns several franchises, including NBA Raptors and NHL's Maple Leafs. Yeah. Our Toronto sports franchises are thriving, but we have been missing one critical piece: women's professional sports, he said. The world is finally taking notice of something that's been there all along: the immense talent, passion, and competition in women's sports. So once again, I saw an opportunity and knew where we were in the right place at the right time to bring Canada's first WNBA team to Toronto. And now we have, making sports history. Toronto will play at 8,700 seat Coca-Cola Coliseum at Exhibition Place, and will have the ability to move up to the Scotiabank Arena on occasion. It is also the home of American Hockey League's Toronto Marlies. He says women's sports is good business. Yeah, it's always based on capitalism, but still, it's good that they're getting a WNBA team in Canada. And women's sports is growing in the U.S., which is a pretty significant thing if you think about it. Next up, also from NBC News, we have an article that says Warner Brothers Discovery and ESPN strike 5-year deal for college football playoff games. So the only reason why I brought this up is because it's related to streaming. And we've been seeing a trend as streaming networks have been gradually increasing their live sports outputs. And really the only reason this is like culturally significant is because live sports is pretty much the only thing keeping cable alive. The only thing keeping people watching the networks is live sports. And if that stuff shifts to streaming, that's just going to be the end of cable. I mean, cable has been dying for at least a decade or more. But, I don't really care that much about Warner Brothers. I don't care about whatever's going on with ESPN. But the death of cable is good for consumers. As long as streaming doesn't get worse than it already is, we need to kind of rein it in. Which, unfortunately, that sounds like it's just going to make things even more expensive than they already are. So, what's the damn difference? This one comes from CNN.com. Walmart and Target are slashing prices. What does that mean for inflation? This is under their business heading. It says Walmart saw first quarter sales at stores open at least a year. Blah, blah, blah. I don't care. The Superstore said on May 16th that it has rolled back prices on nearly 7,000 items in its stores, noting deflationary trends in general merchandise. Inflation during the first quarter increased at half the rate seen last year, it added. Target slashed prices on more than 1,500 items, ranging from laundry detergent to cat food to sunscreen, with thousands more price cuts expected over the summer. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. Yeah, and then they go on to talk about the Fed and AI and some bullshit. So, well, basically, the two big box stores in the U.S. at least. I don't know what. I know Target don't exist in Canada, but I don't know if they have any presence outside the U.S. I think Walmart does, though. But they realize their greed has been driving customers away, and so they're slashing prices because, duh, if you make shit too expensive for people to afford, they can't fucking shop anymore, dumbasses. Anyone could have told them that. All right, this one is coming from Game Informer. I think this is pretty neat. The article says NBA Superstars is bringing the classic NBA Jam vibe to arcades. NBA Superstars brings 3v3 arcade-style basketball action featuring all 30 teams, consisting of 120 of the biggest stars in the NBA. Players can take the court as LeBron James, Steph Curry, and a bunch of other people. In the first NBA-branded arcade game since the mid-90s, the cabinet supports up to 4 players and looks to include the same backboard rattling dunks, physical defense, and long shot three-pointers that made players fall in love with NBA Jam back in the 90s. All right, so it looks like a modern-day reimagining, I guess, of NBA Jam coming to arcades, which is really interesting, I think. I think that's pretty neat. I'll have to keep an eye on my local arcade, which is still kind of thriving in a surprisingly healthy shopping mall for the city I live in. If it pops up, I'll take a picture of it. I don't think I'll put any quarters in it because I haven't seen a quarter in ages. I don't carry cash anymore. All right, and I will not be giving my credit card number to a arcade machine. That will never happen. All right, this one's also from Game Informer. I think this one's a win for PC gamers. Hint, hint. Hi, Gavi. The entire Kingdom Hearts saga comes to Steam next month. Square Enix has announced that several Kingdom Hearts games are coming to Steam next month. 3 compilations and the compilations of those compilations will bring the entire Dark Seeker saga to Valve's storefront. On June 13, you can purchase the following titles on Steam. Kingdom Hearts HD 1.5 plus 2.5 Remix. I have that on PS4. Good game. Kingdom Hearts HD 2.8 Final Chapter Prologue. Kingdom Hearts 3 Plus Remind DLC. Kingdom Hearts Integrum Masterpiece bundle that includes all the above compilations. If you're jumping into the series for the first time, blah, 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 here's what each game includes. Kingdom Hearts HD 1.5 plus 2.5 Remix, Kingdom Hearts Final Mix, Chain of Memories, 358/2 Days HD Remastered Cinematics, Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix, Birth by Sleep Final Mix, and Recoded HD Remastered Cinematic. Okay, there's a lot of Kingdom Hearts shit, is all it's saying. So if you've always wanted to play Kingdom Hearts, but you've never owned a PlayStation home game console, now's your chance. Oh no, I hope your computer's okay, Gavi. So that's a big win for people who are fans of Disney cartoons and JRPGs and just overall fun games. I love the Kingdom Hearts games. I think they've been consistently better quality than the Final Fantasy mainline franchise has been for a while. 15 was okay. We don't talk about 14. 13 was rubbish, and I barely remember 12. I got lost in the wilderness, and I was like, I don't remember what I'm supposed to do, and I gave up. This one is also coming from Game Informer. It says Multiverses launch trailer reveals Jason Voorhees, my man, and The Matrix's Agent Smith. Developer PlayFirst Games and publisher Warner Brothers Games have released the launch trailer for its upcoming platform fighter Multiverses. Excuse me. The trailer arrives just a few weeks after we learn Multiverses finally launches next week after roughly 2 minutes. Okay, let's go ahead and click on the trailer and see what it is. We'll get a copyright strike. Animaniacs. I don't know what that one is. It's that cartoon everybody loves. Bugs Bunny. Scooby-Doo characters, all right. I'm down for that. What is this? Okay, Joker. Well, obviously they're going to have DC characters. I mean, come on. It's Warner Brothers' flagship property. The game will launch on May 28th this year. Awesome. On PlayStation 5, Xbox, whatever the fuck, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC. All right, it's coming to PS4. Good. Maybe I get this game. Looks pretty cool so far. It's just a trailer. I haven't seen any gameplay yet. Is that the Iron Giant? Do they own the Iron Giant? Some kind of squirrel-looking thing. Marvin the Martian. Yeah, you knew they were going to be Looney Tunes. I don't know what that squirrel is, and I don't know what that little blue guy is. I know he's popular. I see memes of him, but I don't know what he's from. He looks he's like a blue looking version of one. Oh, there's a gremlin. Yay. Blue looking version of one of the Despicable Me guys. What are they called? The Minions. He looks like that. I don't know what he's from. That is definitely Iron Giant. That looks like Spike from Gremlins, and he just got his ass handed to him. How's he out in the sunlight? Come on. Wonder Woman. They better address that. And some more Wonder Woman clones? Question mark? Or other Amazonian characters, maybe? I don't really follow Wonder Woman lore. I liked the movies. I've read some of the comics. It's the scientist dude that pukes all over himself, and that's why I can't watch his fucking cartoon. Ew. If I ever do play the game, he will not be a character I play as. And if this game doesn't have fatalities where I get to rip his spine out, I'll be pissed off, but it won't. So, anyways. Looks like they're setting the Joker up as the big bad. There's Jason, motherfucker, and Agent Smith. So Jason is interesting because the rights involving that, I'm not going to get into it here, but the rights from involving Jason are a convoluted nightmare because some of the rights belong to one company and some of the rights belong to Warner Brothers by way of New Line Cinema. It's a convoluted mess. But they found some way to bring Jason into the fold. So that's exciting. This game looks like it'll be fun. I'm going to put this on my, if I can get it at a good price, I'll probably pick it up. All right, cool. All right, that looks fun. This one's also coming from Game Informer. It says Grand Theft Auto 6 is targeting fall 2025 release window. Publisher Take-Two released its 24 year-end financial report today, blah, 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 in which it states that Rockstar is targeting a fall 25 release window for GTA 6. All right. So there you go. Now you at least have an idea of when the hotly anticipated game is coming out. Oh, okay. If it's free, then I'll definitely be playing it. Okay, this one comes from IGN. This is upcoming new Marvel movies for 24. Release dates for Phase 5 and 6. There's some people who still care, so let's just scroll through. I don't need the backstory and BS. Okay, here's the full lineup of upcoming Marvel movies and shows. Deadpool and Wolverine, July 26. Agatha All Along. That one I'm actually interested in, to tell you the truth. I'm not going to be watching Deadpool and Wolverine. Eat shit. I hate both of those characters. Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, formerly Spider-Man Freshman Year, 2024 is all it says. Eyes of Wakanda series. Captain America Brave New World. Daredevil Born Again, March 25. Thunderbolts, I don't know what the fuck that is. Fantastic Four, July 25. Blade, November 7th. Ironhearts, I don't know what the fuck that is. Avengers 5, a.k.a. Avengers The Kang Dynasty, okay, May 1st, 26. Avengers Secret Wars, May 7th, 27. Interesting. Live action Spider-Man sequels to be determined. Yeah, okay. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings 2 to be determined. Armor Wars 2. The rest of these are just, okay, that's a misleading article. IGN, eat shit. Sometimes they do shit like that. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Adventure Time. Yeah, that sounds familiar. I've never played it or seen it, or I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a comic book or a cartoon. I don't know what it is. I've just seen memes of it on the internet. Marvel Studios lines up a writer for X-Men reboot movie. This is coming from GameSpot. It says the long-awaited X-Men reboot in the MCU finally has a screenwriter in negotiations to join the film. So let's put this under rumors instead of news. Michael Leslie is in talks to write the new X-Men film after Marvel took pitches from a number of screenwriters. His credits include The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, The Assassin's Creed, oh my god, Creed movie, and The Little Drummer Girl TV series. Well, I just lost faith in this project. Oh dear. I hope this guy's read more than 2 X-Men comic books, and I hope they weren't comic books that were published in, like, I don't know, 2004. It's a cartoon. Okay, well, no wonder I don't know what the fuck it is. All right, this one comes from Engadget, but I also saw it on other websites. And it says, here's the headline. Nintendo snaps up a studio known for its Switch ports, excuse me. Shiver Entertainment is currently owned by the Embracer Group. Nintendo is buying, I'm going to say Shiver Entertainment, from the Embracer Group, which is splitting up its rather messy gaming empire and is letting go of certain assets. Shiver was founded in 2012 and is mostly known for working with publishers and developers to port games to the Switch, including Scribblenauts titles, Hogwarts Legacy, blah, blah, blah. Nintendo will acquire the boutique-sized studio, quotes, in full, making it a fully owned subsidiary that will continue working on Switch ports and developing software for multiple platforms. The Japanese gaming company isn't known for gobbling up small studios and developers. In its announcement of the deal, it said it's aiming to secure high-level resources for porting and developing software titles with this purchase, blah, blah, blah. Nintendo says it is committed to the Switch platform, yeah, we know, which will remain its primary business, quote, for years to come. Okay, so I think that's interesting because this is the first time Nintendo's actually gone out of their way to buy up a foreign developer. Since I believe they bought Retro a while back, but I'm not 100%. And they had their chance to buy Rare, and they fucked that up. So it looks like they finally decided, hey, maybe we shouldn't let Microsoft get their hands on these guys. Which is an interesting move for Nintendo, especially where it says they will continue to pursue multiple platforms. Nintendo's not known for letting companies they own make games for other consoles they don't own. So that's interesting to me. Okay. This one's a fun little tidbit coming from Eurogamer.net. The headline reads, Paper Mario Remake confirms companion is trans after references removed from original 2004 translation. Here's the screenshot. It says, truth is, it took me a while to realize I was their sister, not their brother. Now their usual bullying feels heavier. Nintendo's Paper Mario the Thousand Year Door remake has added lines confirming villain turned companion character Vivian is transgender after references relating to her gender identity were removed in the original 2004 English translation. Well, good on Nintendo for getting with the goddamn times, considering one of their flagship characters has been canonically trans in Japan only since 1987. All right, well, that's progress, question mark. I mean, they're dipping their toes in. They're not like taking a step into progress, but they're dipping their toe in nonetheless. So that's a start, I guess. All right, this one has me very, very trepidatious, very nervous, very worried, very anxious. Also coming from Eurogamer.net, the headline reads, Microsoft will soon add AI Copilot to Minecraft, offering real-time advice. And the quote is, say hello to the future. This makes me nervous. Microsoft has shown off how its Copilot AI feature will soon be able to give players a helping hand in games such as Minecraft by offering up real-time advice. The company shared 2 videos, blah, blah, blah. To craft a sword, you'll need some materials, Copilot says, prompting the player to open their inventory. There's a video. I'm gonna watch the video and see how scared it makes me. Oh, this is a 30. Never mind. That's not watch that. And I'm just gonna say this: if it's optional, this doesn't bother me. But if they're just gonna shove it in my game and I can't turn it off, I may stop playing Minecraft altogether. And I might even stop watching Minecraft YouTube videos. This could be the thing that kills Minecraft. If you were wondering what could kill Minecraft, well, it's Microsoft getting their hands on it and fucking it up. All right, a bunch of bullshit PR quotes I'm not going to read. There are some comments. Let's see what other people are saying. Oh, nope, they want me to sign in. Nope, there we go. And it's just people mocking it, of course. All right, last news story. This one is disheartening, but I can confirm it is actually somewhat true because I'm a part of the problem myself. This is coming from PCGamer.com, and it says the internet is disappearing with a quarter of all web pages from 2013 to 2023 going the way of the dodo. A study from the Pew Research Center entitled When Online Content Disappears indicates that our beloved internet may well be disappearing beneath our fingers, with a quarter of all web pages that existed between 13 and 23 found to be no longer accessible. Contrary to the popular perception that everything committed to the interwebs is destined to exist forever, the study reveals that 38% of pages that existed in 13 alone have now been lost. This is via The Independent. It doesn't appear to be an age-related phenomenon either. Even newer pages appear to be performing vanishing acts. 8% of pages that exist in 23 were found to be unavailable. I just shut down my website earlier this week, and I've started, launched, and shut down at least 12 websites over the course of my lifetime. So yeah, websites aren't forever. Okay, there's a whole article here on PC Gamer. You can go read it for more details if you want. Yes, we all know Web Archive exists, the Wayback Machine, but as you also know, the Wayback Machine has limits. So there we go. That's all I have for news and rumors. Pretty interesting stuff. All right, so for our movie discussion this week, I'm taking a deep dive into the Spider-Man and X-Men live action films. We're not getting into the weeds with animated stuff. We're not talking cartoons, just the live action films in their respective franchises. We're going to start with Spider-Man because it's the fucking messiest of them all. So the first live action franchise began in 2002 with the amazing Sam Raimi's awesome Spider-Man film, which basically set the template for how you make a good Spider-Man movie. And then he dropped the ball with Spider-Man 2, and he's like, well, this is how you make a corporate Spider-Man movie. And then corporate got involved again, and then he's like, well, this is how you make a paint-by-numbers Spider-Man movie with Spider-Man 3, and then he left the franchise. Sony, in their, quote, infinite wisdom, promptly buried his trilogy and relaunched it immediately with the amazing Spider-Man franchise, which had, I'm going to say 1.5 entries because between the two. That's as much of a quality as you're going to get between the two films. You're not going to cobble together a coherent film between both of them. But if you watch them back to back, you'll get about 50 minutes worth of quality entertainment and a whole bunch of bullshit. And then Disney bought up Marvel, got greedy, launched the MCU, and said, hey, what about Spider-Man? And Sony's like, about that. Let's look at the fine print and see if we can work out a deal that makes us richer than we already fucking are. And they kind of, sort of, half-assed brought Spider-Man into the MCU, but also kind of, sort of, half-assed left him in his own cinematic universe, which was very weird because they did the and I can't remember which is which. They're called Homecoming, Far From Home, and No Way Home, and I can't remember which is which because that's a stupid naming convention. But I've seen them all. Now, as superhero movies go, and as pieces of the larger MCU goes, I would say the Spider-Man, the MCU Spider-Man trilogy isn't entirely bad. Not as good as the Sam Raimi trilogy as a whole, but one of my reasons for that is the Sam Raimi trilogy stands on its own. You can watch those 3 films as a trilogy. You cannot do that with the MCU Spider-Man films because the second one makes heavy references not only to the blip, which you wouldn't even know what the blip is if you hadn't seen Endgame or Infinity War, which again ties you back into the MCU, and it makes heavy references to the multiverse, again, using Doctor Strange as the gateway to that, which is a big old convoluted mess, which once again, hello, happy face, brings you right back into the MCU all over again. So the modern Tom Holland, I'll call it, live action Spider-Man trilogy does not stand on its own, which irritates me as a fan of comic book movies. Yes, I want Spider-Man involved in the MCU, but I still want to be able to just watch his movies without giving a shit what the fuck Tony Stark and his bunch of idiots are doing. So let's break down the 3. I'm going to say trilogies, even though Amazing Spider-Man never got its 3rd entry because of corporate meddling and Disney greed. Well, let's go ahead and break down the trilogies before we jump into the X-Men, which is going to be a big old mess. So the Sam Raimi trilogy, and if you don't know who Sam Raimi is, he's a horror filmmaker, but he has his roots in comedy. So that sets the stage because a comic book movie is way the fuck outside his wheelhouse. It's not horror nor comedy. No, the best Batman is Val Kilmer. And I'm going to die on that hill. Second best is Christian Bale. I like the George Clooney Batman movie. I like Batman and Robin. It's a fun movie. So the first Sam Raimi Spider-Man film, which was the very first live action theatrically released Spider-Man film in history, and I say official, there may have been fan films out there, but they don't fucking matter. But it was a damn good movie. Massive success, brought, it helped cement the superhero craze that has been going on for the past 25 years. Starting with a little bit with Blade and X-Men, and then Spider-Man came along and said, yeah, no, this is actually happening, and then everything else fell into place. Back then, Marvel was still making half-assed attempts at cobbling together an MCU, but they didn't have the ability to do so, partially because they were in financial shambles and didn't really have the money to make movies on their own, so they had to farm out their characters to whoever was willing to pay them, which meant their characters got spread out all over Hollywood. which made a unified MCU next to impossible. The best they could do, which I would argue counts, is they had Stan Lee make cameos in literally every film. Not just the official MCU films, but all of the Marvel movies that they produced had Stan Lee appearances. I want to say except for Blade, but I don't know if he's in Blade or not. But he was in Spider-Man. He was in X-Men, Daredevil. I don't think he was in Elektra. Actually, I take it back. I don't know if he was in Daredevil or not. But I know he was in Fantastic Four and some of the others. So he was popping up. He was sort of the, the tie-in. That loosely tied them all together. And I have to say loosely. So I did not see that 2002 Spider-Man in theaters, and I don't remember why. I don't know if it was a money issue or if I was working that weekend or that summer or when it came out. I don't remember. I just remember not going to the theater to see it, but buying it day one on DVD as soon as I had the option to, and watching the shit out of it. I loved it. I watched it so much. I had some minor nitpicks when it was new that I've learned to either ignore or appreciate as time went on. My first nitpick was I love Kirsten Dunst. I do. I love her and everything she's in, but I had a problem with her being Mary Jane. But she won me over. At least by the time we got to the second film, she won me over. We're going to talk a little bit about the third film, because I have a different take than what you're used to hearing on the internet. But I did see Spider-Man 2 in theaters, not opening weekend, but quickly after it came out. Probably the second or third week it was out. I am ethically obligated to tell you, please don't smoke. I do it for reasons, but I've already made a video on it. Anyways, so I remember sitting in the theater disappointed with Spider-Man 2. I was like, all right, I like what they're doing with Doc Ock. I like what they're doing with Aunt May. I don't like this weird thing they're doing with Peter Parker's PTSD costing him his superpowers. But the train sequence was pretty fucking cool. So it was sort of like a string of awesome with a little bit of what the fuck and some meh. But altogether, it was an enjoyable film. It was just slightly disappointing compared to the high of the first one. Now, for reasons I'm not going to get into here in this video, I did not go see Spider-Man 3 in the theater. Instead, let's just say, found an online stream of it and was able to watch it that way. And I was immediately grateful I did not go to the theater and pay money for it. Immediately. I was like, what the fuck am I watching? Now, let's talk about what I didn't like about it. At the time, I didn't like how there were too many storylines going on. It was just too much happening. I couldn't follow along. I was like, wait, we're following this guy, but also this guy, but also this guy, but also this guy. Holy shit, slow down. Let me catch my breath. It was too much. I enjoyed, screw y'all, not you guys watching this, but y'all out there on the internet, in the ether. Fuck y'all. I enjoyed the emo bit with Peter Parker, because that literally is exactly what happened in the comic books. The Thing changed his personality, the symbiote. It changed him. It made him a different person. And it took him becoming a total douchebag and treating everybody around him like shit before he realized, hey, this thing I'm wearing is giving me powers, but it's also making me a douche nozzle. So I appreciated that, because it was like, at least they're trying to stay true to the comics, or at least the essence of the comics. Now let's talk about the Venom ordeal, because I'm not even going to talk about Sandman or what's going on with the Green Goblin. We're gonna brush that aside, because that's just too much. It's too overwhelming. I can't remember, was Electro in that movie or not? I can't fucking remember. That movie was a mess. Let's talk briefly about Venom. Topher Grace got a lot of shit for playing Eddie Brock. And the common criticism was, he doesn't look anything like Eddie Brock from the comics, which is very accurate. In the comics, Eddie Brock looks like a linebacker for the fucking, San Francisco 49ers. He does not look like a photographer. And I can say this with some fair certainty and accuracy because I was a professional photographer. I worked in the news media business. That was my job. And I went to press events and red carpet events and places where other journalists and photographers and celebrities congregated. And there was not one photographer in the industry that looked like Eddie Brock. They all looked like either me, chubby and disheveled, or scrawny as fuck because they were starving to death because newspapers don't pay their photographers shit. They all looked like Topher Grace. They did not look like Eddie Brock in the comic books. So I actually appreciated that casting choice on the aesthetics. Now, as far as the quote acting chops and bringing a comedian to a serious role, yeah, I had issues with it. But overall, I don't hate Spider-Man 3. You're welcome, Happy Face. I hope you enjoy the show. So, I don't have, as a trilogy, I don't have any issues with the Sam Raimi trilogy. I think it's a cohesive trilogy. It tells a narrative. It gets the job done. It's got some hiccups, but what, long-running sci-fi franchise doesn't have hiccups? We can talk about how great Aliens is all day long, and then you got to talk about Resurrection. That's a whole 2.5 hours of hiccups. So I'll give this the Sam Raimi trilogy as a whole, I'll give a rating of, yeah, pretty good. Thumbs up. Spider-Man 2002, perfect film, 5 out of 5 stars. Spider-Man 2, 3.5 stars. Spider-Man 3, 3 stars. It loses a point for the convoluted story and too many goddamn characters. But overall, I enjoyed the trilogy. The Amazing Spider-Man, oh, this is gonna give me heartburn. First of all, they caught lightning in a bottle with Tobey Maguire playing Peter Parker. The dude was bred in a lab to be a geek. He was born a nerd. He pulled it off. Andrew Garfield was not. Andrew Garfield was like, I'm going to say it, and I'm not trying to, objectify him or whatever, but he's like an A-lister hot bod dude. He's not a nerd. He can't pull it off. No disrespect to Tobey Maguire, but Andrew Garfield is in a whole higher league than Tobey Maguire. Not necessarily in acting, but just in, physical presence and in looks alone, which is not fitting for a Peter Parker at all. So that's strike one. Now, strike two with Amazing Spider-Man is they did the soft reboot, not the hard reboot. They ignored the previous 3 films while also loosely continuing the story threads that the trilogy was going to see in its 4th film. So they basically made the 4th film anyways with a rehashed reintroduction of the origin story to set up the new trilogy that never came to fruition, because they wanted to they already had the script and the props and the special effects and everything ready to go with the Lizard. He was going to be in Spider-Man 4. He was the villain of Spider-Man 4. What we got with Amazing Spider-Man was Spider-Man 4 without Tobey Maguire, is basically what it was. And they had to do the soft reboot thing where they recapped, imagined the, the origin story to make it, oh yeah, this fits into this new trilogy, I guess. And then it fell off a hard cliff with Amazing Spider-Man 2. Sony realized that they stuck their own dicks up their butts and were like, well, this isn't actually working for us. Let's try something else. And they shot the bed, I'm going to say, with the Homecoming trilogy. Because of I have 2 issues with the Homecoming trilogy I will not let go, ever. Issue number 1. Not that it's in the MCU, but that it is too reliant on the MCU to stand alone. You can't just watch those 3 Spider-Man films as a trilogy. You cannot. It is impossible because you won't know what in the goddamn hell is happening if you haven't seen at least 7 other MCU films, and that's ridiculous. And that's my major gripe with the MCU as a whole. I should be able to just watch the 3 or 4 Avengers films as Avengers films and not need to watch 27 other fucking films to know what's happening. That has always pissed me off with the MCU as a cinematic property. It works in comic books because a comic book is like $3-4. You wait 6 months, you get the trade paperback that combines it all together in one cohesive story. You don't have to track down 37 issues spread across multiple titles. You can get it all in one place. That doesn't work with a movie that costs you roughly $25 a pop. Fuck off. I've bitched about that quite a bit. The second issue I have with the Tom Holland Spider-Man trilogy is even more egregious. Way more offensive to me than that bullshit. It's Tony Stark. He has no goddamn business being involved in Spider-Man's life at all. I vehemently, blood-boiling hate seeing Spider-Man web-slinging wearing Tony Stark armor. Fuck off, goddammit. Eat shit and die. I will never forgive that. Spider-Man is the strongest superhero in the Marvel Universe. This has been well established for almost 70 years. He's also one of the smartest superheroes in the Marvel Universe. Smarter than Tony Stark. And this has been well established for almost 70 years. He didn't need Tony Stark to come in and say, "You're okay, kid, but let me make you better." Fuck you. This isn't just because I hate Tony Stark. This is because it belittles and diminishes the awesome that is Peter Parker and all of his accomplishments. They kind of, sort of, 3 movies plus, 12 spinoffs in, kind of sort of rectified this with that last one that brought in the multiverse and kind of erased the timeline, giving Peter Parker a chance to live on his own. And he kind of shed his ties to Tony Stark and just decided to go be Spider-Man. It shouldn't have took him 3 films to do that. So, I don't know. I have those are my biggest issues. Did I enjoy the films? Yes. In fact, I enjoyed them despite those issues because I've already seen the entirety of the MCU, so I was well versed in what the fuck was going on, even though I was exhausted by that point and burned out at this point. I still enjoyed the films, especially that third one that brought back Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire. Great film. Loved it. But mostly just because of the fan service. I would love for Sam Raimi and Marvel and Sony and Disney to get together and bring back Tobey Maguire for a proper Spider-Man 4. That's what I want to see. And it can be in the MCU. It can be, now that they brought back the multiverse, it can be in its own splinter of the MCU. I don't give a shit. Just do it. Make it work. Do what you got to do. Now, let's dig out another shovel and see if we can scoop up all the shit and weed through the X-Men film franchise, because we're going to need nose plugs and a face mask to get through this one. So right off the bat, I'm going to go ahead and be upfront with you. X-Men is my favorite comic book property. I regularly read the X-Men comics. In fact, the X-Men is the only comic book publication I get in the mail. It's the only one I subscribe to. I've been regularly reading X-Men comic books since I was in 3rd grade. So not only did I see X-Men 2000, the Bryan Singer film, in theaters, I saw it 5 times in theaters, twice in the drive-in. I loved that film. I was ready for a live action X-Men film franchise. I was like, bring it on, give me X-Men. I had some issues with the pacing of that first film because, yeah, they've got to establish the universe and let film audiences know what the fuck is going on. And then right when it finally starts to get good, they win and they roll credits. And it's like, okay, good movie. Can't wait to see the sequel. Saw the X-Men 2 opening night in theaters. And I saw that one 5 times in theaters as well, including one screening at a giant cinema in Boise, Idaho. The big screen, not an IMAX, but the biggest screen that they had, that they could show it on. I was like ready for X-Men 2. I couldn't get enough of it. Loved it, loved everything about it. I have no faults with those first 2 X-Men films. None at all. No gripes, no nitpicks, no issues. Perfect films as far as I'm concerned. Little slow pacing in the first film, but they made up for it in the sequel. Here's where I'm going to piss some people off, and I'm going to stray from the norm. I also saw X-Men 3, The Last Stand in theaters, and I also loved it to death. Couldn't get enough of it. Didn't have any issues with it. No gripes, no nitpicks, no problems. It was a perfect fucking film. I loved it. Because Jean Grey is my favorite X-Men character. And yes, I know it strayed from the comics. So did the previous 2 films. It was supposed to. It's a retelling of a story we've already told twice. We've already told it in the comics, and we already told it in the animated film in the 90s on Fox Kids. We didn't need to retell it beat for beat, frame for frame, word for word, how it's already been told. Let's do something fresh and original, which they did. Kudos for that. I'm not going to bitch about them doing that because I cried my ass off in the theater all 5 times I saw it in the theater. Because that movie was awesome. Then things got messy. They also did the soft reboot, hard reboot thing with X-Men Origins Wolverine, which was, I'll just say, a goddamn nightmare. Not just because I hate Wolverine as a character, and I don't want him getting his own fucking film franchise because he doesn't fucking deserve it. And I'm not going to sit through a 2-hour movie where he's it. There's no other X-Men. Yeah, okay. Some of the other X-Men make cameos or a part of the overall plot, but Wolverine cannot be the centerpiece. Not for me. Not for it to work. That movie was not well received for good reason. And then they did First Class, which was another both hard reboot and soft reboot of the X-Men film franchise, going back in time to give us the origin story of the X-Men, which I enjoyed, and gave us a whole new cast of characters to follow, which I kind of enjoyed, although I had issues with them not including some of the actual original Team X-Men, other than Beast, who was there from the beginning. But it's okay because they already kind of sort of established that. And we got a new take on Mystique, Magneto, and White Queen. White Queen is Emma Frost is another one of my favorite X-Men characters. So I was happy to see that, I was like, okay, this is fine. I did not see any of the new class movies in theaters. I'll just tell you that right now. They just didn't do it for me. I enjoyed First Class. It was fine. 3 out of 5 stars, I guess. The previous 3, 4.5, 5 out of 5 stars, all 3 of them. Even The Last Stand, loved it. I'll defend it to the death. I watched both versions of Days of Future Past, the Rogue cut and the theatrical cut. I was exhausted by this point. I was just like, all right, fine, tell the story, let me watch it and move on. I did not enjoy Apocalypse at all. Not even at all. I watched it and I was like, God damn, did Michael Bay make this movie? It was way too much CGI for me. It was like a Transformers movie. It was just like a 3-hour tech demo for what you can do with CGI. And it was like, where's the story? Where are the characters? I don't fucking know. It's just too much goddamn CGI. I had my problems with Apocalypse. I skipped The Wolverine, refused to watch it. To this day, haven't seen it, and I'll never fucking watch it. I don't give a shit. Was dragged into Logan by my friends and family who were dying to see it. I hated it. Let's just be real. I don't give a fuck about Wolverine as a character, so I don't give a fuck what happens to him and his, I guess, child. I don't care. Fuck off. Hated Logan. Will not watch it again. Once was more than a goddamn enough for me. And then when I was working for a newspaper, and I was on the entertainment beat, well, the business beat specifically, but that entertainment falls under business, I got a press invite to go see a pre-screener release of Dark Phoenix. Now, again, X-Men is my favorite comic book franchise. Jean Grey is my favorite superhero, my favorite X-Men character. I loved every second of Dark Phoenix. Loved it. I was happy to get another retelling of the Phoenix Saga because, again, it's another reimagining, which I want to see. If you're going to tell the same story over and over, make it new, fresh, exciting, interesting. I was here for it. I loved Dark Phoenix. And then the X-Men franchise just kind of hit the brakes because of the MCU and Disney trying to buy Fox, which they eventually did. And now they're trying desperately to bring the X-Men into the MCU. They made a half-ass attempt with using two X-Men characters, Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, in the Avengers films, which they've had some references through that branch to the X-Men film, the larger X-Men universe, but just barely references. And then they brought them in kind of officially, unofficially with Multiverse of Madness, which is a movie I enjoyed tremendously. Also, Sam Raimi. Also a horror movie. Thank you very much. So I was happy for that. And again, I actually kind of like the Scarlet Witch as a villain. I like her more as a villain than as a hero. She doesn't work as a hero. She works as a villain because she's way too powerful and complex to be a hero. For me. I prefer her as a villain. Same with Magneto. I don't buy Magneto's redemption arc because he always goes back to his evil ways anyways because he's not a good guy. And he's not supposed to be a good guy. But anyways, yeah. We're not even going to touch the Deadpool movies. We're just going to sweep them under the rug and pretend like they never happened. And I'm not going to watch the new one because, one, I hate Deadpool more than I hate Wolverine. And two, I've already well established I hate Wolverine. Why would I watch a movie that's just Deadpool and Wolverine? Give me a goddamn break. I ain't interested. That's my movie discussion for this week. Let's jump into my comic book topic. This one is going to be, I don't know. We'll see where it goes. Hello. I can't say your name. That's Pick Rob. Thank you for watching. The question is, why are there so many animated comic book shows? Yes, I know we've got comic books are amazing. I love them. I read them regularly. And we've got the Marvel movies, the DC movies, and everybody else is doing movies as well. Hellboy and The Mask and all those others, Kick-Ass and The Walking Dead and everything. There's lots of comic book content out there on screens, big screens and small screens with streaming services and television shows. Lots of good comic book content. And then on top of all that, we have an ungodly amount of animated comic book films. Films, yes, especially under DC's banner, but also Marvel. But also animated television shows. Now, I'm not just coming at this with an I'm anti-animation attitude, because I am. I hate cartoons. I think they're stupid, and I do not enjoy them. But I can push that aside for a second and just ask the question, why are there so many? Why are they so quick to jump into an animated show and then an animated movie when they already have the budget and the resources and the capability and the interest to make live action shows at this point? It made sense in the 80s and 90s to do cartoons because we hadn't really established that you could do superheroes well on live action on the big or small screen. We had a few near misses and some half-assed attempts. The Incredible Hulk, Wonder Woman, those were decent. There was a Flash. TV series in the 90s. There was also Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman. It was okay. Smallville, it was meh. We don't talk about Smallville. But beyond that, there wasn't really a lot that had proven you could do a live action TV series based on a superhero property. Not do it justice, I should say. So they turned to animation. Okay, sure. We got a lot of good ones in the 80s. X-Men, Spider-Man, Batman, The Tick. We had some good ones in the 90s. And then they took a hard left. And then we just we went instead of every year getting a new season of the respective X-Men or Marvel or Avengers or DC or Batman or whatever cartoon that was long running, we got a whole new cartoon, just a whole new show every year. Instead of a new season of the show that we just launched last year, it's a whole new show, whole new cast of characters, whole new storyline, whole new sometimes voice actors. It was convoluted. It was a mess. You had X-Men Evolution, and you had the little My Mightiest Heroes version of the Avengers or whatever the fuck it was called, and so many ones. And then you had Teen Titans, but you also had Teen Titans Go, I guess. And then you had all these others, and it's I don't even know where you're supposed to start. It's too overwhelming. There's too many animated shows because one, they're all trying to exist in their own little isolated island. None of them are interconnected except for the ones that are trying to be interconnected. But it's they're only interconnected with certain other ones and not all of them. It's so convoluted. I can't stand it. It gives me a headache. Do I watch some of the animated films? Yes, especially the DC ones, because DC is at least DC is doing their animated cinematic universe well, even if they're kind of fumbling the ball with their live action cinematic universe. But there's just so many of them. There's 30 different animated Batman, Superman, and Avenger or Justice League movies. There's just too many of them. Now, the question I asked is, why are there so many animated films? Well, money is the reason why. They're cheap to produce, and they're profitable. People watch them. I don't know if I have anything else to say about it, except I'll ask. Go ahead and leave in the chat or the comments after this video is no longer live. What are your favorite animated comic book properties, and which ones do you recommend I check out? X-Men 97 is on my list because I liked the original animated series. And I am going through some of the Justice League and Batman animated shows and movies. I'm wading my way through those, but I don't even know where to start. So anyways, there is that. So my retail topic for the week, taking a shift, the perils of self-checkout. So self-checkout, I have some personal stories with. And that's been making headlines recently. So let's talk about it. Self-checkout was initially introduced in the late 90s, actually. Now, I don't remember specifically who started it, but I was working at Kmart in 2002 when they introduced self-checkout. So it's at least that old. And I was a checker at Kmart when they introduced self-checkout. And yes, I was trained on self-checkout, and I was moved from the register to babysit the self-checkout bay. And in those early days, that was a nightmare job because nobody knew what it was. Everybody complained. Everybody said, why should I have to do your job for you? This company's going broke, blah, blah, blah. Well, they were telling the truth in regards to Kmart. They were going broke. Kmart went to self-checkout because they had no choice. They couldn't afford checkers. And I can say this with certainty because they were only giving me 15 hours a week. And there were only I only had two coworkers who also had 15 hours a week. They were not doing well financially, which we now know because they're gone. But anyways, Okay, Justice League looks like it might be interesting, so I definitely have that on my list. Thank you. Then, slowly but surely, Walgreens and Walmart and Target and everybody else started to introduce self-checkout. And as time went on, consumers adapted. We got used to, well, they don't have checkers anymore. We have to use self-checkout, which a lot of people got used to. But also, there were some people who resisted. Grocery stores especially couldn't go this route because they cater to a lot of people with disabilities, myself included, who, for various reasons, whether physical disability or like myself, they get overwhelmed. And I do have a physical disability. I walk with a limp. I have a cane because I have a permanently broken foot that cannot be fixed. So that reason alone makes self-checkout hard for me because I don't want to stand there and try to move things from the cart to the scanner to the bagging area with one hand because I got to hold my cane with the other hand to stand up. So I like to go to the regular checker because I can stand there and lean on the cart and then just take my stuff out of the bag and let them do their job. I mean, out of the cart, excuse me. Which is how it's supposed to be. But then the greedy companies found out that slick consumers were able to use self-checkout to steal. And then the companies were like, hey, wait a minute, maybe we don't like self-checkout. Walmart threatened, and I don't know if they went ahead with it or not, to make it to where you have to have Walmart Plus, a paid subscription, to even be able to use the self-checkout in their stores. Excuse me. But I'm pretty sure they backpedaled on that after the consumer backlash. But I'm not 100% because I don't shop at Walmart. And not because I have any issues with Walmart for whatever reason. It's just there's too many people there, and I have a hard time going there because I get overwhelmed. I have social anxiety disorder. I cannot be in massive ass crowds like that for very long. So now we're at a crossroads where we might start seeing self-checkout disappear. Now, I'm okay with self-checkout at like a Target or even, a Walmart or something like that. Yeah, sure. Let people get in, get out, especially if you're just buying things, you just want to go and grab a few things like toys or household goods or toilet paper or whatever. I have my issues with self-checkout at the grocery store because I'm buying a whole shopping cart full of stuff and I don't want to be bagging it myself. That's just too much. But the one that really irritates me is when I go to a Walgreens and they have nobody. It's all self-checkout. And I'm like, well, I can't ask the pharmacist questions because there is no pharmacist. They're off in the back doing whatever they do. And the person in the front is like, yeah, the pharmacist is busy. I can't help you. And the person who should be manning the counter, who I could ask questions, hey, where can I find, antibiotic cream or whatever I'm looking for, isn't there because they've been replaced by a computer that can't answer my questions. And the company's response is, well, if you download the app, fuck you. I'm not going to download the app to shop at your store. So I refuse to shop at any, if I walk into a Walgreens and there is no checker, if it's only self-checkout, I walk right out and go to another store. That one irritates me. The other one that doesn't irritate me but kind of frustrates me quite a bit is the gas station. The reason why self-checkout doesn't work at a gas station is because 95% of your customers who are shopping at a gas station are buying age-restricted products, whether it's lottery tickets or alcohol or tobacco or vaping products, which means you do not have a smooth, easy walk up, scan your item, swipe your card, walk out experience at a gas station. Because you walk up, you scan your item, it stops, and you have to wait for the human checker to stop what they're doing, which is usually helping other customers, which they won't do until the line is gone, which means you're sitting there forever waiting for them to come by and swipe the little card to authorize the transaction. No. If I'm only walking into the gas station to buy like a Snickers bar and a Red Bull or whatever, yeah, sure. self-checkout. If there's no line, swipe and go. But because everybody who goes to the gas station, literally everybody is buying age-restricted products, there's always a bottleneck at the self-checkout at the gas station. That is not the place to have self-checkout. Same way with like your liquor stores and your smoke shops and vape shops. Yeah, they don't have self-checkout for that very reason, because you'd be there forever if they did. Now, the reason this is frustrating when you're buying age-restricted products at the self-checkout is because you have to wait for the human attendant to come, look at your ID, punch in your date of birth, and then press the little button and put in their passcode. All IDs in the US have barcodes on them. I should be able to they should have a scanner on the machine. If it can scan my credit card and it can scan my items, why can't it scan my ID? So that's an issue. Well, here's why. Because that brings up privacy issues, which is why they don't scan your ID. So yeah, okay. So it's a catch-22. There is no solution, but they're still trying to make it a solution. This is why, for me, by and large, self-checkout doesn't work. Now, if I'm on a toy hunt, and I do toy hunting videos on my other channel, Bri's Toys, and I go to Fred Meyer or Walmart or Target or whatever, and I'm just there to buy one action figure, yeah, I might swing by the self-checkout, blip, swipe my card, walk about my day, go on with my day. But that's very rare. Usually I'm buying electronics, which always requires somebody with a key to open the little glass doors to get the thing I'm trying to buy anyways. And that person usually has to walk the thing with you to the counter. So you can't really use self-checkout in that instance. So it's not really even an option. And yes, I know there's always the whole, why don't you just buy online, Amazon, eBay, etc. Well, I kind of do, but that's a whole nother video. Online shopping is a whole nother nightmare I don't want to get into. So my question then is, what are your experiences with self-checkout? And do you use it or do you avoid it? I got a really fun video game topic, moving on, that I've been holding on to for a while, which I'll probably do an in-depth video on my main channel, which is this channel, at some point in the future, because I've already talked about one piece of this on my video game buyer's guides, which is, there's a playlist on my channel. You should definitely check those out after you finish this live stream, please. Thank you. Really informative videos. The question is, whatever happened to upgradable consoles and expansion slots? The NES, the SNES, the N64, the GameCube, the PlayStation, the Saturn, the Genesis, these all had expansion slots. Most of the time, they were never used. Or if they were used, they were only used in one region, usually Japan, for a limited technology that didn't go outside of Japan. The NES had the disc system, which did use the expansion slot. The SNES had its version, not necessarily disc system, but it had its what they call BS satellite system. The Genesis is the most famous example of doing it right. Their expansion slot connected to the Sega CD, which also the TurboGrafx CD had an expansion slot that connected to a CD drive, as did the Atari Jaguar. So this was a common practice back in the day. And then Sega took it a step further with making the hardware itself upgradable with the 32X. Now, that method has not been repeated. Now, 3DO was developing and designing their own version of a hardware upgrade that would make the 32-bit 3DO into the M2 64-bit 3DO. But due to their financial struggles and the fact that nobody bought a 3DO, that product never came to fruition, at least not as it was originally advertised. Allegedly, that technology was folded into the DVD Nuon technology that nobody used or remembers, but that's allegedly. That's according to like Wikipedia, and I can't confirm that, so that's just allegedly. PlayStation had a host of accessories. They had hard drives, PS1 and PS2, all the way to PS5 allowed you to connect hard drives to your console. They had modems. The PS1 and the PS2 had modems, and then 3 on, they had the internet built in. They had different accessories like the Game Shark and other things that connected to the expansion slots. Nintendo 64 had the Rumble Pack, which it connected to the controller expansion slot, as well as the memory cards, which plugged into the controller slot. And the Dreamcast had the video memory unit, and the original Xbox had memory cards that plugged into the controller as well. The GameCube, in addition to the link cable, which gave us GBA GameCube link connectivity, also had the Game Boy player and the online adapter and the e-reader, all by way of expanding the capabilities of the GameCube. The PS2, in addition to the hard drive and the modem, also had the iToy and a bajillion controller accessories, which that's a whole nother topic. Controllers is a whole separate video. But they had some mild upgrades as well. And then that was it. That was it. From then on, the only way you can upgrade your hardware is to buy the new iteration. Either the successor, Wii to Wii U, PS3 to PS4, PS4 to PS5, etc., or buy the incremental upgrade, the mid-gen upgrade, like the PS5 Pro, or PS4 Pro, excuse me, the Xbox One, was it Pro? I don't remember what it was called. But anyways, that was the route they took. So instead of selling you a chip or an accessory or a memory card or something that plugged in somewhere into the system via USB or expansion slot or whatever to upgrade the capabilities, they just made you go out and buy whole another $400, $500 machine that incrementally upgraded the capabilities mid-generation. I want to know why more people didn't try to go the way Sega did. I know Sega eventually, had to exit the hardware business entirely because, they had too many fucking machines on the and products on the market, and they weren't handling their finances well. So yeah, we know that story. But people did like the Sega CD when it was new. People did want the 32X one. Nobody bought it, but people were talking about it when it was new. I wanted it. I bought it. But we really don't see upgrades to consoles anymore or add-ons or anything like that. The closest we get is with PS4 and PS5, you have the VR headset, which somehow connects to your machine, and its core capabilities that I know of. And that's sad to me because I always loved reading about, the new, we knew it was going to be a short-lived product, but it was exciting nonetheless that they were trying something like the N64 disk system or the e-reader or whatever, something, the 32X, something that was going to expand your console's capabilities beyond its core capabilities. And not just via accessories like iToy and, Guitar Hero guitars and stuff like that. And so I kind of miss that. That's one of the things I miss about the 90s, because not only were there way more options to choose from, we didn't just have 3 companies making video game machines. We had so many options to choose from, which again, the market wasn't ready for at that time. But I would argue the video game pie is big enough now. We could have 4 or 5 competitors in this space and everybody could still do fine. I don't think we need to consolidate between just 3 big players. So that's kind of frustrating, but that's a whole nother video. No, they had 2 expansions that were used in the N64. The first one was the memory expansion, which was actually required for some games and optional for other games. And in Japan only, again, I have to emphasize, in Japan only, they had the 64 disc system, which allowed some games, like 2 or 3 games, I think, that were released on a type of floppy disk, I should say, a type of Probably more like a zip drive technology, zip disk type technology. But again, that technology never went outside of Japan. So like I said, a lot of this experimentation was exclusive to Japan. But it still existed. It was still an option. It's still a thing. You could still buy those today and still experience that. And there's some I'm forgetting. I'm sure there are. I don't remember. I know Saturn, SNES, Genesis, and PlayStation all had mouse and keyboard options. I think the NES did as well. And I know for sure the Atari 2600 did. So that was also a way, some of them also allowed you to connect your printer. You could connect to a printer. So some of them had expansions that gave them PC-like capabilities, especially in the 90s. I know the Saturn had a lot of that capabilities, as well as the memory expansion slot, the video card expansion slot, which was also a thing on the 3DO. It had a video expansion upgrade, which allowed you to upgrade the video capabilities, which allowed it to play video CDs, as did the original PlayStation and Sega Saturn. They both had video cards that you could plug into the system to play video CDs as well. I'm pretty sure the PlayStation video card expansion was, again, only available in Japan, but of course you could import. I don't know 100% about the Saturn one. The Saturn's kind of a Wild West because information is kind of scarce because it was a short-lived product that Sega themselves didn't really advertise well. So there's a lot of confusing and misleading and unverifiable information regarding the Saturn. So I'm not an expert in regards to the Saturn. I had a Saturn for a brief period. Enjoyed it for the time, but was way exhausted spending 50, 60, 70 bucks on retro games. I could get the exact same game on the PlayStation for $5 or $6. The exact identical game. So I was very frustrated with the Saturn because their software is way hella expensive and it ain't worth it once you bring home the $99 Mortal Kombat trilogy for the Sega Saturn and you realize it's the exact same version that you could have got for $6 on the PlayStation. You kind of kick yourself for buying a Saturn. To the best of my knowledge, aside from the aforementioned VR headsets and the ability to upgrade internal storage via hard drives and USB flash drives, modern game consoles from PS3 and Xbox 360 on don't really have any notable upgrades or expansions to the core technology that you can purchase. The method they use now, like I said, is you just buy the whole new system. I think part of it is COVID, and I think the other part of it is graphics cards are hella expensive because of the blockchain bullshit. Which I think kind of means that it's not economical to do those mid-gen upgrades right now. But I'm not 100%. I'm not an expert on that. I don't really know what's going on with PS5 or Xbox Series, whatever the fuck it's called. I don't know what's going on with those because I don't own them and I don't follow them. The newest console I own is PS4, and that's going to be the last console I own unless maybe somebody can twist my arm into buying a Switch or a Switch Pro if it ever comes out. I'll definitely go back and buy some retro consoles and go that route in the future. But I'm not into new games anymore anyway. So that is an area I've basically aged out of. But I'm still kind of trying to pay attention to what's going on, so I'll try to look into it and see what I can find. All right, that's all I got for my video game topic. I don't know where I'm going to go with the food topic because I just wrote bread. Have consoles always operated at a loss? No. Actually, that didn't even start until PlayStation. And not really until PlayStation 3, to tell you the truth. Every home console released prior to that was supposed to be sold at a profit. Saturn was sold at a loss because Sony launched at a price point that undercut them and took away all their momentum, but there were other factors. So Sega slashed the price immediately in response. And believe it or not, contrary to popular myth, GameCube was sold at a loss as well, because Nintendo also had to heavily slash the prices on GameCube. Because the true story, in 2003, Nintendo shut down their factories and stopped manufacturing GameCube for a while until they sold off inventory because there was no demand for GameCube. The GameCube was not doing well. So they had to slash the price from $200 to $99, which is a big price cut, and come up with quick bundles to try to entice people to get back into GameCube. The GameCube was and it was heavily reported, was sold at a loss from that point on. It became profitable as soon as you bought a second controller, a memory card, or your first game. But technically, that is illegal in the U.S. You cannot sell a product at a loss, and then try to sell. That is actually regulated. The way they get around it is the console. They price it so yes, technically, if you just buy the console, they lost like a little bit of money, $5 to $10 or something like that usually. But as soon as you buy your first accessory, controller, or video game, then they've made a profit, and then there on out, it's profitable. Is typically how it operates, and that's because that's how they get around doing it without actually breaking the law, technically. Because you're not going to go out and spend $600 on a PS5 and not buy any games for it. Nobody's going to do that. So, yes, technically the consoles are sold at a loss, but not in practical reality, because as soon as you buy a game or anything else, they've made their profit, and then from there on out, it's profitable. Now, Xbox division, sidebar, just to clarify, the Xbox division is not profitable and has not been its entire existence, but that isn't because they sell the hardware at a loss. It's because they spend too much money buying studios and then shutting them down and doing nothing with it, and nobody buys their games. It's just because they're not selling software or hardware at the numbers they need to be profitable. Because when you can only sell 25 million units of your Xbox hardware, which is 3 of the 4 hardware generations they've existed in, that's like that's their hard limit. They can't break that number. When everybody else is selling in the hundreds of millions of units, yeah, it's kind of hard to make money. But anyways, let's get into the food topic. Bread. Why do I want to talk about bread? Couple of reasons. One, bread has been a staple in human diets pretty much since the beginning of time. It was one of the very first few foods humans discovered how to cook or prepare. Goes all the way back to biblical times and beyond. There's so much food. Also, the reason why I wanted to talk about it is because I have a medical condition. I can't eat bread without getting sick. I'm not supposed to have gluten at all, but I'm gonna eat pizza. Just don't tell my doctor. But bread comes in a variety of ways. I just mentioned pizza. There's also donuts and pastries and cakes and cookies. Those are all bread products. There's toast. There's biscuits and dinner rolls and cinnamon rolls and English muffins and stuff like that. There's toaster pastries like Pop-Tarts and toaster strudels, etc. We are inundated, I don't know how to say that word. We're bombarded with bread in our daily lives. There's so much bread. There's bread on our cheeseburgers. There's bread what comes with our hot dogs. Everything is bread, 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 bread. Why did I want to talk about bread? Well, for one, I can't have it that much, but it's in everything. It's literally unavoidable. I can't go to a restaurant without being bombarded with bread options. If you order a dinner at any sit-down restaurant, they're going to bring you breadsticks or dinner rolls. That's standard. Why did Sony Why did PlayStation stop selling movies? I think it's because I think it's two reasons. One, they heavily invested in Crackle and Crunchyroll, which were supposed to be their streaming platform of choice, and neither of them took off. And also because of streaming. People don't want to pay $15 for a DVD for a digital file of a movie when they can just pay $15 a month and get all of them. Theoretically. Obviously, that's not what's happening, but that's what the companies wanted. That's what the consumers wanted. And I think that's what happened there. Also, Sony, their movie service was competing with Apple, who did it better, and Amazon, who did it better. And to be honest, Microsoft did it better on Xbox. So I never once bought a digital movie on my PlayStation Store on PS3 or PS4. Never once. I had no reason to. I had Netflix. And at the time, all you needed was Netflix. Netflix and YouTube, that's all you needed. So, getting back to bread real quick, one of the things I do like about bread is it's easy to make. It's literally the easiest thing you can make. It's flour, sugar, and eggs. Sometimes you have to add yeast if you want it to rise, or baking powder or baking soda. I can't remember which is which, if you want it to rise. But you don't need it to rise. There is a thing as unleavened bread. That is a thing. It's actually a thing you get every Sunday in every church in America and across the world. You get unleavened bread in the form of some sort of wafer or cracker or something as a part of the Eucharist experience, or communion as some churches call it. So yeah, unleavened bread is definitely a thing. Crackers are a thing. Tortillas are a type of bread, kind of. They're a flour product. So yeah, you don't have to have yeast or a rising component to make bread. Bread is easy to make. I think that's one of the reasons why it's so common, especially among poor people. It's like, yeah, just make a loaf of bread or biscuits or, a batch of dinner rolls, and you can have dinner rolls to go with your one piece of fish that you're having for supper and 2 spoons of corn if you've got enough corn to go around. Bread can be good. I love bread sticks, especially the crunchy breadsticks. You know how like when you go to the salad bar and they got those little crunchy breadsticks, or they're kind of like the ones you get in the little cheese and cracker dip. You dip the cracker in the cheese. I love those. Those are my favorite kind of breadsticks. I like dinner rolls. I love biscuits and gravy. Biscuits and gravy is one of my favorite foods. I can eat it all day for basically all 3 meals a day. I could eat biscuits and gravy every day. Can't because it'll kill me because of my medical condition and because I don't have, I just don't really buy biscuits. And gravy requires milk, which I can't have dairy because also my medical condition. So I can't have biscuits and gravy, even though it's one of my favorite foods. Also, I'm not supposed to eat pizza because the same thing, bread and dairy. It's a frustrating condition to live with. Sometimes I just puke. I eat it and puke anyways because I'm going to puke if I eat too much bread or dairy. And whenever I have the extra money, I have access to my medications, I just take my medications and I'm good to go. I don't currently have that at this point in time, but that's another story for another day. That's not y'all's problem. Unfortunately for me. But I don't like bread in general. I don't like cake. I don't like pie. I don't really like cookies, except for maybe no-bake cookies or, oatmeal raisin cookies. Those are the cookies I like. The rest of the cookies I can do without. Crackers are hit or miss. I like club crackers. Is there some sort of veggie crust out there? Does it suck? I have had gluten-free, dairy-free pizza. They do sell it at Walmart, but it's hella expensive. It's like this big. It's a teeny tiny little pizza, and it's like $12 for the little pizza. And it's veggie toppings, and it's probably, I want to say, not soy milk, but it's probably like almond milk for the dairy. And I don't know what they're doing for the gluten-free crust, but it's good. It's enjoyable. I can eat it, but it's just too expensive. I can't afford it. What I normally do is just get the thin crust pizza and I just don't order extra cheese. I just top it with like meats. So I'm not eating too much bread and dairy when I eat it, but I also try to limit my intake. Pizza is the primary bread, besides biscuits and gravy, food I enjoy. I can eat dinner rolls, but only if I got mashed potatoes to stuff in them, because I have to put mashed potatoes in my dinner rolls. Otherwise, I can't just eat them by themselves. I do not like muffins. I do not like English muffins. I do not like cinnamon rolls. So for the most part, I'm not pro bread. I'm not anti-bread. I've never liked bread. So when the doctor said stop eating bread, I was like, okay, I don't, but thank you. But then they were like, also that means no pizza. And I was like, all right, I guess I'm going to die because I'm going to eat pizza. So there is that. I don't really have anything else to say about bread. It's a good, it's an easy food to make. It's everywhere. It's unavoidable. And true story, I've never put my hot dogs on buns ever in my entire life. I do not eat hot dogs on a bun, and I do not put my hamburgers on a bun. I always, if I go to McDonald's or someplace like that, I order it without the bun, or I just throw away the bun anyways. I've never eaten my junk food meats on a bun. I've never done that. I've never been a fan of bread. I have a music topic, which is going to be tricky because, one, my research into this topic is years old and very outdated. So I'm not hip on what's going on today in regards to this. But the topic is the rise and fall of techno music. Now, I have to put a disclaimer. When I use the word techno, I'm not using it as shorthand for all electronic dance music. And I'm not using the term EDM because trance is not dance music, but it is still electronic. But I'm referring to techno as an actual techno, the subgenre of electronic music that was known as techno, that came out around the same time as another subgenre of electronic music known as house music. Now, in the 80s, we had funk, disco, hip-hop, techno, and house. Those were our 5 electronic electronic musics. Pop and dance pop and new wave was experimenting with synthesizers and electronic sounds, but those were the core electronic music genres at the time. And then everything exploded in the 90s. You got drum and bass, you got trance, you got tech house, eventually you got dubstep and all this other shit. Just so many options. Now, the broader music industry and the broader music journalism at the time lumped everything under the banner techno for the longest time. This had 2 side effects. One, it eventually led to a pushback to where people were so allergic to the term techno, they wouldn't even apply it to actual techno music. So we went from everything was techno to nothing was techno. The second thing that happened is they went back in modern times, journalists in gaming, or not gaming, but music. Did you see Eminem? No, I did not. And to answer the question, I doubt it. But they went back and revised history to the point where everything and anything that had previously been attributed to techno had been erased and had now been reattributed to house music, which is false in so many ways. I'm not going to break down the differences between house and techno, because unless I'm going to violate copyright and actually play you samples, it's not going to make sense. And that's all I have for topics this week. Now we've entered the portion of the stream where I go into random thoughts. So this is where I just sort of ramble for a while and pay attention to the chat and try to answer questions I missed. And, just talk about whatever pops in my head. And the first thing that popped in my head, because it's actually a line in the movie, is Ghostbusters. And the reason why I'm mentioning Ghostbusters is because there's actually a new Ghostbusters movie that came and went, and I didn't even see it. It's called Frozen Empire. And I don't have any issues with this movie. I have no aversion to it. I'm not watching movies in the theater right now for various reasons. One of them is my physical handicap. I just don't want to get out and walk because it hurts my foot. And the other one is I don't like people. I don't want to be in a crowded cinema. And I knew that was going to be a movie that was going to be crowded. So I didn't go see it. But I'm still interested in it. I'm still going to watch it as soon as I find access to it. Find access to a digital copy of Frozen Empire. I've done a whole video on Horror Trans, I believe, ranking the Ghostbusters franchise films. I actually enjoyed Answer the Call. But I also did enjoy not Frozen Empire. What was the one before? Afterlife. I enjoyed Afterlife quite a bit. And love it or hate it, Ghostbusters 2 was the very first movie I ever saw in a theater, so I still have the childhood nostalgic attachment to it. So I'll still defend it as a fun film, even if it's not a great film. Gavi says, I liked it. Good. I'm glad you did. I kind of want to watch it, but I just haven't gotten around to it yet. Kind of behind on my horror movies, and it's kind of a stretch to consider Ghostbusters horror movies, although I have reviewed them on Horror Trans anyways, because they are still kind of technically horror movies. Horror adjacent at the very least. Earlier, I brought up superhero movies. I'm still burned out on superhero movies. So there hasn't been a single superhero movie or TV show that's been announced in the last 2 years that I've been interested in. And that hasn't changed. I'm still not interested in anything they're doing with superhero movies right now. I'm taking a wait-and-see approach with the X-Men revival, but based on what I read earlier in this stream, I have some concerns. Okay, that's good. I like Ghostbusters 2. I thought it was a fun film. I'm going to pull something totally random out of thin air. And I'm going to talk about peanut butter cups for a brief second. Not just Reese's peanut butter cups, but just even the knockoff dollar store brands. I think peanut butter cups are probably the greatest candy ever invented. I've been craving peanut butter cups for a while now. I don't have any money to go to the gas station to buy any, but I would sure love to. But anyways, probably not even going to eat today because I don't have any food right now and I don't have any money for food. I'd probably have one pack of ramen. I don't know. I might spice it up with some hot sauce or ketchup maybe. But I don't have anything real substantial to eat today. But that's okay. It is what it is. You know, being poor sucks. Toys. I got some new toys coming because I still have a little bit of my eBay credit left. I haven't used it all up yet. And I'm still struggling, but I am making the minimum payments, so they haven't cut off my credit yet. So that's nice. I've got some vintage TMNT and Masters of the Universe figures coming, which I can't wait to get them. Talk about those. I'm talking to some friends, local friends, about starting a Dungeons and Dragons game. We haven't like firmed up any plans yet, but we're talking about it. It's a possibility. I don't think they're going to want to live stream the games. If they agree to it, we might try that. that would be fun. But like, there's already a billion, you know, what are they called? They're not called Let's Plays. What are they? Actual plays or whatever they're called of people playing Dungeons and Dragons online. So I doubt anybody would watch those videos, even if I did it, because I'm very hardline with my D&D. I do not play it the way other people play it, by and large, because I'm there to play a board game. Basically, it's a hack and slash, roll the dice, kill the monster, collect the treasure game for me. I don't give a fuck about the story. I'm not there for the story. So I get bored when I sit at a gaming session for 3 hours, and 2.5 of those hours are interacting with imaginary people that don't exist. It's like, okay, I'm having fake conversations with, basically it's just me talking to the dungeon master, but we're both pretend. No, I hate that. I hate that. Just give me something to do. Give me something to swing my sword at or shoot a fireball at. That's how I play Dungeons & Dragons. I'm old school. I want the dungeon crawl. I don't want the shared narrative. I'm not here for that. All I need to know about my character is their basically their stats and what's their character class. What are their abilities? What are their spells? What weapons do they possess? That's all I need to know. I don't need to know their backstory. I don't need to know their motivations. I'm not here for that. That's not how I play Dungeons. I know that's how a lot of people play Dungeons and Dragons, but believe it or not, that's not how everybody plays D&D. I don't mind having a story and following along and having NPCs and characters, as long as it doesn't get in the way of the action. If it serves the game, I'm here for it. But if you're just playing D&D to tell a story, and then go into theater. Go write novels. Don't play Dungeons and Dragons. Because at the end of the day, it's a role-playing game, and I hate being involved in gaming sessions where they ignore the game aspect of the game. It irritates me. It just pisses me off. I do have a new video game console in my household. We recently acquired an Xbox 360, and I have one game for it, Fable 2. I have not yet gotten to a point where I can hook it up and test it out even to see if it even works, because I obviously acquired it used, so I may have gotten burned on the deal. I don't know yet. But it is what it is. If I hook the thing up, really the only game I'm going to play on it is Fable 2. That's the only thing I wanted it for. To the best of my knowledge, Fable 2 has never been released to PC, but it wouldn't matter if it had, because my PC can't play video games anyways, because my graphics card died. Once a month on the Zoom, and I might move it from Zoom to Discord, I haven't decided yet, I do a Ask Me Anything video conference call. Right now it's been Zoom. But the only way to access this is to be a member of my Patreon, patreon.com/Stephanie Bri. It's only $1 a month to get in. I try to do one once a month, but I am going to do another one probably tonight, because I haven't been doing them for a while because I was having internet issues and it wasn't really doable. So I'll probably send out the link tonight to my Patreons. As well as a few friends who are Patreons under the free banner, but close friends, just to see if anybody shows up. Hint, hint. But yeah, if you want to get in on that, I have 3 tiers right now: a $1 tier, a $3 tier, and a $5 tier. They all get you the same content. It's just how generous do you want to be, and how much better do you want to make my life? I'm trying to come up with actual perks at the higher tiers. One of them that I will probably lock into the $5 tier is the Discord server. I will probably launch a Discord server soon that people can join. We can have discussions and live stream movies and do some stuff you can't do on YouTube because of reasons. So that's a perk that's coming. I just don't have it set up yet. I do have a Discord server. I just don't know what the fuck to do with it. I don't know how to set it up or, invite people or whatever. Discord is beyond my skill set. I'm a noob when it comes to Discord. Other than that, I'm running out of steam. I don't have much else to talk about. And I'm going to take a break and go see if I can scrounge up something for breakfast. And then come back in an hour or so on my other channel, Bri's Toys, to do Bri's Toys Talk, a live stream where I talk about toys. So I'm going to wrap up this stream and say thanks for watching, everybody. You're awesome people. And have a good day and stay cool.